All right, you guys, I'm excited for this week. This is somebody that I found on social media, and I seriously was so excited because you guys listen to us, you know us, you follow us, me and Delancey. We are very passionate about adoption and we love what it's done for us. And we love putting a positive vibe out there. Doesn't mean we don't honor the hard stories, but we want people to see the light with adoption. And I was so excited when I found Taylor. I don't know how. I was just telling her that I don't know how I found her. I think somebody posted something of hers and I reached out to her because I stalked her. I watched all her stuff and I was like, oh my gosh, she's got the exact same mindset as me and Delancey. So of course I reached out to her and she's amazing. It took us like a good 15 minutes to even get started because we were just having so much fun chatting. But I am so excited for you guys to hear from her. You guys are going to have to go follow her. We just asked her to do something with us in the fall. And so she said yes to it. So I'm excited. She's going to join us for that too. So she'll be back on with us so you guys can hear some more of her goodness. But I will go ahead. We have Taylor, who's an adoptee, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her. So go ahead, Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me tonight. This is only my second ever podcast, so I feel super honored to be invited to your space, to be invited to your followers, and I'm just so thankful that you would like to take this opportunity to amplify my voice and my story and hear from me. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. As Melina did say, I am an adult adoptee and I was adopted as a child from Korea. My family is Caucasian, so I've always identified as an international adoptee or more recently transracial adoptee. So our family has always been multiracial, and I think that has always been something so beautiful that our family has been able to honor and cherish in the way that we embrace multiculturalism and the way that we view it because we don't look alike. It's always been kind of the mentality for us that families don't have to match to have love for each other and have respect for each other. And so that's something that I have been really thankful for, that perspective growing up and being able to view things from that lens and understanding and appreciation of differences. So I've always been able to really appreciate differences. And I'm just so thankful that the adoption system has existed. And I do hear stories from disgruntled adoptees. And so I would never want to take away, from their stories, their lived experiences. So I do want to just preface it with saying that, I can't speak on behalf of any other adoptee and I can only speak on behalf of myself. But I do love talking about adoption, the experiences that we've had, a lot of misconceptions that are out there in terms of what prospective adoptive parent or parents or families are thinking about that they'll experience, or questions that current adoptive parents or family members may have. So I love addressing those things through Instagram. So I'm so thankful that you found me on social media and were able to watch my reels and things like that.
Hell yeah.
So growing up, yeah. So it's been super fun to start that. I actually started that account about almost a year ago now. And I actually started it because I was Googling things about adoption for someone else. And I hadn't Googled adoption as an adult. I don't know, I guess I'm naive or ignorant. And all the things that I was seeing were so hurtful, and it was mostly hurtful towards adoptive parents. And
yes!
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh!
Feel the same way though. We didn't Google it just till
people in the back.
Yeah, we're like you though. We didn't Google it until just recently, and we're both adults. And then when we saw that, I love that. Okay, go ahead, keep going.
Keep going.
So hurtful to me, and I was offended for people like my parents, people who have opened up their hearts and their homes through adoption, and I wanted to, and I remember I told my husband, and I said, oh my gosh, if this is what people who are potentially adopting are seeing, and they're only seeing these hurtful things from adult adoptees saying that the adoptive parents have ripped them from their families and ripped them from their culture and denied them their culture, I said, who would want to adopt if you only see these kinds of messages out there? And I was just flabbergasted by the hateful and hurtful comments directed towards adoptive parents. And, for those people who have had traumatizing or negative experiences, of course, my heart breaks for them.
Right.
And I don't know all the trauma that has existed out there and the myriad of things of why someone could have had a bad adoption experience. And of course, I don't have that experience, so I can't necessarily relate. But of course, I feel terrible and my heart breaks for anyone who has had a negative experience. But I can't believe every single person, when you Google adoption, has had a negative experience, right? And so I really wanted to start that account to show people, especially prospective adoptive parents, that not every adult adoptee has this like resentment towards adoption. Not every adult adoptee has this feeling of like, feeling lost or feeling that they were ripped from they're literally ripped from their birth mother's hands or kidnapped or all these things. So that's what really prompted me to start that Instagram account. And I think I started it in November or December because it was around World Adoption Day. And that's what I was Googling for somebody. And I hadn't, I think that's what it's called. I don't even know now that I'm saying it out loud. I think it happens in November-ish. And
I was going to say,
don't feel bad. I don't even know about it. So you're good.
Okay.
The only thing I know is that November is Adoption Awareness Month. That's all I know is November.
Okay,
so you're
Thank
good. You're good.
I do know that. Yep.
Okay, I'm a terrible adoptee because I didn't know that.
That's okay. That's okay.
Let me write this down. November.
Put it in your phone. Put it in your calendar.
Adoption awareness. Okay, go ahead.
And so, I was Googling it for someone else, just some facts and things like that. And that's when I found just and then of course, all the hashtags on Instagram that are dedicated toward people not understanding and the trauma that goes along with adoption. And so that has not been my experience. I have not had trauma from being adopted. I don't feel that I was denied any part of my identity for being adopted. And I'm so grateful that I was adopted. So I really just enjoy sharing about how adoption can and has changed the trajectory of my life and how I would not be the same person I am right now had I not been adopted by my parents and been raised in a loving family. And so how just thankful I am and want to show people that adoption can be so beautiful for families, for all parts involved.
I love that. No, I love that so much. Oh, what are you gonna say?
I have a question. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
Go for it. Go for it.
I felt like she was in a flow and not question. And it's I don't know why I'm making light of it because it's kind of a serious question because the more I'm listening to this and it's, all the trauma behind adoption and all the adoptees that are oh, I experienced so much trauma. I was ripped from my family. I was kidnapped. I was X, Y, and Z, trauma. And this is something that just popped in my head. In your opinion, because I know I have mine, in your opinion, do you think that the word trauma is overused and misused for adoptees sometimes when they were adopted, say at birth, and maybe it's just the wrong word to be used?
I love that. No, that's a good question.
I would say in my perception of other people, maybe it's just a popular word right now. And I think that mental health hasn't always been a strong focal point for people. It hasn't always been is talked about openly, right? It has been stigmatized in the past. And so now people are able to talk freely about mental health and that's great. My mom is a licensed mental health professional. And so, but I do think maybe some of those words are being thrown around in a non-clinical person and in a way that would make it seem like that was diagnosed by somebody, but it wasn't. I've read things too online that the fetus, because that they know that they're going to be adopted, is traumatized in the womb and things like that. So not from a credible source. People are hashtagging on Instagram and stuff saying their trauma began before they were even born. Some adoptees are saying that their trauma, yes.
I don't understand that.
And that way, either. And I'm even pro-life, and I think that's asinine.
Right.
Not a cuss word, people.
I definitely don't agree. I definitely don't agree with the trauma in the womb kind of thing. But that's interesting. Next time I see something, I'll have to send it your guys' way to show you.
Please do.
That's
because that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's what. I just wanted to ask that because it's. I've heard people, like you said, say I had trauma because I was adopted at 3 days old. I don't think I had trauma from being adopted at 3 days old. I just don't think that's possible. I had no idea that my bio mom did not get a chance to hold me, and I got wheeled out of the room, and she's going, I have no idea if that's what really happened, but I don't have trauma.
I was there. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but that's my point. I don't have trauma from that. Do I have relief now that I know what my story is and that it came about? Yes. Did I have trauma from not knowing my story? No. It's just, I don't know. I was just curious about that. I was curious if you, if you were thinking that.
And I've even had other adoptees tell me that I'm in the fog, the adoption fog. I don't know how familiar you all are with that.
We hate that. We hate that.
Yeah,
we hate that.
It's so just I have no idea where that comes from. I even posted a meme one time, the Mariah Carey meme of the I don't know her, because I was like, my response when people tell me I'm in the adoption fog, and the response to the Mariah Carey meme being like, I don't know her, because I don't understand that concept. I don't agree with it. But people come at me all the time with that.
No, we actually had on a couple episodes back the interview of like the two adoptees that we did. She was talking about coming out of the fog, but hers was totally different.
I
Not
really
this
liked how she said
icky
it too.
stigma
really
that they
did.
like people put on it. Like I can't even remember exactly how she said it, but it was something more like she found out the person that she was, but it wasn't what you see on the internet as far as I come out and realize all this trauma and shit and damage has been done to me and my adoptive parents and my birth family. It was nothing like that. It was more of just kind of she found her own identity, and I can understand that because everybody wants to find their own identity. And
I
so
like
we
that
like
too.
that because when she said that, me and Delancey were both kind of like, ooh, ick, because the stuff we've seen, we're like icky, 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 and then she went on to explain it because we asked her, and we're
And
like,
it made more
okay,
sense.
that one makes sense. The adoption fog that's on Google, as Taylor's saying, like when you Google crap, you find some really icky, weird stuff that comes with adoption. Okay, sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
It's so weird.
And it's all done by non-credible sources, like Taylor said. It's all done by like somebody who wants to vlog and make their. I can't. I'm sorry.
Right. I even had so many adoptees like commenting on my post and DMing me at one point that I even thought about deactivating my account because it was getting so hurtful. And as much as I try to be like boundaries and things like that, it was still taking a toll on me, saying like that I don't speak on behalf of other adoptees, and I never claimed to speak on behalf of other adoptees, right? And then it was saying things like I'm just in the fog and I don't know where I am in life, and that I really was traumatized by being separated from my birth family, and I just don't know it yet. And I mean, I'm in my 30s, so I feel like, not that I know everything, but I feel like if I were going to be like in a fog or something, I would probably know by now as I'm an adult.
I don't like how they told you that you don't know. That annoys me, that you don't know that you're out of it yet. Girl, who do you tell me what my life is? Like, dude, you can't tell me.
You don't know that you're in the adoption fog. You don't know that you're not accepting your reality. You don't know the trauma that man, get out of my life.
Seriously, and those are what the messages were saying, right? And it was just a lot of them all at once. It was like they all teamed up together and like tried to like coordinate their messages to me.
Taylor.
There's a strategy.
Because I felt like I got them all in like 2 days, like a period of like over 2 days. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should just delete my account. I don't need this negativity in my life. But I didn't. And I'm so glad I didn't.
I'm glad you exactly.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm very glad you didn't.
Thank you.
Man, people too much sometimes, swear.
Right. Everyone's got an opinion.
Everyone's got one. I could say the phrase that goes with it, but
Did you say how old you were when you were adopted, Taylor? And I completely missed it.
No, I didn't. I was 4 months old, so I was a baby. Just a little bit older than Dorothy. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I was 2 weeks old when I was adopted.
Oh,
See, and I don't think there's like any trauma involved. Like I will say this. My mom said I was a very, very hard baby, but I'm at the same point. I understand it's like, Kate, I was inside this woman, knew her voice, and then all of a sudden I'm in a different country, not saying like, and it's a new love I had to learn. Like, I get that. Like now, have you had kids yet, Taylor?
No, I have not.
Okay. No, and that's okay. But like, but now like actually carrying a baby and like everything that that the baby experiences, especially like when they come out of you, I have more of an understanding of why I kind of was maybe a pain in the ass child, like baby, because it's a different, shut up. You. No, but like, you know what I mean? So but I wouldn't negate that as trauma. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's trauma. For me, it's like, it's a new surrounding. I had to get used to
learning. Right.
But I would
you're
be like,
learning.
oh my gosh, I have trauma, because I really hate that, because I went on my stories a while back and I was like, dude, I don't care who you are, whether you're adopted or not, every single damn person on this planet will have some type of trauma. Just because you're adopted doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well, and you can't blame your poor choices on being adopted either. Correct. I was adopted. That's the reason I became a drug addict. No, it's not. It's not. I'm sorry.
Personal accountability.
Take ownership of your decisions.
Exactly.
I agree.
And I'm sorry, what about those babies that are pains in the asses that are biological? Ooh, I just cussed on the podcast. My bad.
She doesn't swear. I swear. She
I
don't.
just don't, and like, it just like fell out. Like, I don't know what just happened, but I already said
It's
it.
her influence. It's her influence.
Yeah, it is her influence. It is. But what about those babies that are biologically connected to the parents and they're still
Agreed. Hard.
fussy
Tough
babies? They're not,
Yeah.
I mean, they're tough babies. Like, some babies are just tough babies.
Exactly.
Okay.
I know. When my husband and I, so our plan is to have one biological child and then adopt a child.
That's
And
awesome.
so when we tell people that we want to adopt a child, we get from non-adoptees and non-adopters, of course, are the biggest opinions we get. And they always say things like, you'll never love that child the way you would. And of course, they don't know that I was adopted right off the bat, right? Depending on who we're with. And they'll say like, you'll never love that child the way you would if it was your own, your own biological child. Or like, oh, adoptive kids have so many problems, blah, 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 right? And things like this. And I always say, well, how many children have you adopted? Or how many, or I'll say, well, thank goodness no biological parent has ever had behavioral issues with their biological child. And then they just kind of stop and look at me, because obviously anybody can have issues, and teenagers are hard years for anybody.
Yes.
So to blame
Agreed.
that on
Yeah.
adoption, I think in that a dynamic is such a cop out for people to be able to say that, because everybody can go through a tough time and everyone should be allowed that growing pains time.
Right. Agreed.
And so to blame it on adoption, I think is just a lazy excuse for people.
Agreed.
And who, like, oh, the audacity. You're never gonna love that child as much as your own.
Your voice got so high.
I love it.
Well, because I just picture it being like some kind of like Poindextery, like, woman that just uppity and just like that. I just, your own, the child is your own.
It drives me nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I still, for the life of me, don't understand why people take the energy to say things like that.
Right.
And try to correct their verbiage and try to acknowledge,
Mhm.
their opinion, and say things like, well, how many children have you adopted? Right. And then when they say that, and I say, oh, well, thank you for your opinion. I was adopted and I feel that my parents love me the same that I been birthed by my mom. So thank you for your opinion, but this is my experience. And then the conversation kind of dies down pretty quickly when they realize that, like, they're not.
Oh shit, she's
every
adopted.
every non-adoptee is an expert on adoption, right? Like, they know all the ins and outs of the dynamic, even though they've never adopted and they've never been adopted, and they don't even have a sibling who was adopted. So
they have no siblings, no friends, nothing. They have no connection to it, but they know everything, and they want to tell how you feel about it.
Right. Well, where did you develop this perception of adoption and issues or whatever? It's always like movies, or I love this one. Well, I know somebody who knows somebody who adopted somebody and they had a really hard time, so I would never adopt. And I mean, they don't even know it's not even like their best friend or their next door neighbor where they would see the dynamic play out every day. It's just like, I heard from a friend whose roommate in college, whose cousin adopted, and it didn't turn out right. So that's what I hear a lot.
Oh my gosh. I'm almost positive I would have so many things to say to that. Just because, like, it's, I mean, and I do believe that there is a way to do it, like, educate and to try to help, but it's kind of like, I almost feel like there's people who they lead with, like you're saying, adoption, you'll never love it as much as your own. You'll never, the adopted children always have problems, blah, blah, blah. And then you share with them, I hear you. I appreciate your opinion. I am actually adopted. Right. Nice to meet you. Let's go ahead and have a conversation about this. And then it's one of two things happen. They either go, oh my gosh, clutch my pearls, let me change my dynamic and like respect what's going on here because this is about to go bad. Or they double down and they say what you just said. Oh, well, I know somebody who adopted. It was my sister's best friend's cousin's dog walker adopted.
That's exactly how it goes.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, I had to come up with something absolutely nuts. That's the first thing that popped in. Right. Because like I have pocket over here, like running around my legs. So it made me think about that. And then that's when you just want to look at him and go, weird, because my sister's best friend's cousin's dog walker said that you smell. So is that right? Like, I mean, like that's where like my immature brain like wants to respond to them. It's just kind of like I kind of have to like thank God, like God puts a filter on my mouth now, so I can just like kind of go, oh wow, so tell me more about that experience.
since you're an expert.
Since
I
you're
like
an
to tell
expert, please.
people, yes, I like to tell people, I like to give them the title of expert. And I like to say, in
Mhm.
your advanced professional adoption experience, whether you're a licensed social worker or an adoptee, and then they look at me and they're like, well, I'm not a social worker, I'm not a therapist or something. I'm like, oh, I thought you were, based on the confidence in your statement of
That's so
adoption being
weird.
such a problem. That's so odd. I thought you were coming from a research-based and evidence-based place, and I guess it's just your opinion.
That's so strange. You don't have a
I love
PhD.
it.
Weird. Weird.
Taylor, I want you to touch on kind of what you talked to us about a little bit beforehand, before we started to record, about how you're talking about culture. I want you to talk about that and how
Yes.
people have come about you. Cause I mean, Delancey's half Mexican, I'm full Colombian, and we were both raised by Caucasian parents. So I want to hear
Yep.
what your take is on it, because I feel like it's very in sync with me and her. So go ahead.
Okay, sure, definitely. So yes, I was also raised by Caucasian parents, and all of my extended family members are also Caucasian. So when I read things about transracial adoptees who are upset with being the only person of color in their family, that it breaks my heart that anyone would feel, not included in their family dynamic and things like that. But a lot of times when I read their things on Instagram or their blogs saying, that they have racist relatives or they feel bullied, I feel that unfortunately the problem is that family dynamic, and it's those individual family members. It's not an issue with transracial adoption as a system, as a whole. It's the problem with that family member is probably racist, right? And that making that person of color feel uncomfortable. But for me, I have grown up with only Caucasian people, and I have never felt out of place. I've never felt that I was the only person of color. I've never identified that. My family members have never identified me as the adopted one, or I've never been, it's always been, oh, Taylor's cousin is coming over, things like that. It's always been that I've been part of the family. And that's, again, probably the family members that I am fortunate and blessed enough to have, that have welcomed me into the family since I was adopted. But I do hear a lot about adoptees saying, they were ripped from their culture, or they don't speak the language of their native people, and they should. And my suggestion, in my unsolicited advice as well, I guess, is that they should purchase Rosetta Stone or an app that they can encourage themselves to have the autonomy and utilize their agency to learn the language of their chosen desire. And I do not speak Korean, and my parents offered that to me, and they also would take me to these kind of Korean American support groups where there were a lot of people in our community who were Caucasian parents who had a Korean adoptee.
That's cool.
And so we would do
awesome.
culture night. It was fun. It was really fun. It was a culture night or tradition night. It would be food, right? So the food one was always like the fun one, right?
Of course.
And as I got older into my teen years, it became less important to me because I was already so busy with like sports and school and other events and things like that. And so it just wasn't as much of a priority for me. And I was actually the one that, and I consulted with my mom about this just to make sure I didn't spread false information. I was actually the one that told my parents, like, hey, like, it's kind of like low other things going on, and I ultimately made the decision to stop going. But my parents would have encouraged me, or supported me. I mean, if he hasn't felt power. No, did her computer freeze?
Oh, am
What
I
just
back?
happened?
I have no clue. I was trying to just talk to my family to be like, who's on the freaking internet?
It just kicked
Was
us
I-
off and stopped recording.
Okay, hang on.
You're gonna have to figure out how to
it's
merge
no,
the two.
it's still recording. It's
it
still
said recording
recording on my
stopped.
end. It says recording on my end.
Oh, okay. Well, it said
Maybe it
recording
came back
stopped.
on. Yeah,
Let's
maybe
pray.
recording stopped
I hope it
message.
was still recording while Taylor was still going, but I might have her repeat what she said. Oh, you're welcome.
I was about to
guys,
say
for
it
technical
was
difficulties.
good.
I know
was
it
about
was
to say,
good, but it was weird.
going.
It was weird because all of a
Gosh.
sudden she was like very robotic, and I was like trying to watch you, Delancey, to see if you were, if it was Taylor's, and then all of a sudden my connection was gone. And so I don't know if y'all heard me scream, but I was like, "Who the hell's on the internet?"
That
No, I
must have
didn't
been
hear
during
you
the time
scream.
period when you weren't connected, because we both went. Taylor was like, da, 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 and then we both went, huh?
Right. And then we
She's
look
like-
at your screen and you're
and
not
then
there.
you're gone. It was like a magic trick because you were there and then you were literally gone.
It still says recording. So
Okay.
like it really does. And I have the option to stop it. So if you would, I'm trying to think of where you were at. Okay. Talk about, it started to go weird right when you were talking about getting into your teen years of not worrying about your culture. That's where it started to go glitchy for me. So if you'd repeat
Okay,
that, I'm
sure.
so sorry.
Sure. No, not at all.
Gosh, Morena. Oh.
Right.
Delancey.
Never hanging out with you all ever again after this. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Never.
I
Great.
just
Now
want
we're
to hang
gonna-
out again. I want to hang out again.
Now we're gonna lose a guest. Awesome. Great.
So yeah, as I was in my teen years, I will say that I don't think I had a lot of friends that looked like me or identified as people of color, but that wasn't something that bothered me at all. I was always just supported by friends at school and friends in sports. And so it wasn't necessarily like you need to be someone that looks like me for me to feel a connection to you. I've never felt that way. And so into my teen years, going to these Korean nights was still fun, but it was just less of a priority for me. I had other things going on, with school involvement, sports involvements, just hanging out with friends that, weren't invited to these things either. So a lot of my best friends weren't able to even come to these types of events. So I just wanted to hang out with them instead. But my parents did support me in wanting to go to Korea. They told me they would help me find my birth parents, and that would be, actively searching for people because there weren't these website accessible, websites where you could just upload like your spit swab DNA and find people that you're linked to.
Yeah.
So I do feel that my parents would have supported me in that. I do feel that they genuinely meant that they would help me, but it wasn't something that I was really interested in pursuing. And so a lot of people have asked me like why I didn't learn Korean or things, and my parents would have completely supported me if I wanted to learn Korean, although it wasn't offered in my school. That I know they would have paid, for a tutor or things. And I was telling someone the other day, or I did an Instagram reel, that I actually chose to learn Latin and Greek, and so my parents got me a tutor for that. I was able to learn through school and things. And as we were talking earlier, before we started recording, right? So when people ask me like, well, why don't you know Korean? That's your native language. You should know Korean language. And I have a friend who's of Irish descent and identifies as an Irish American. And I always point to her and I say, she's Irish and she doesn't speak Gaelic and she learned French in college. So I mean, it's not an adoption dynamic. Sometimes people just want to learn a different language.
Right. No, and I love that because it doesn't matter like what you look like, you can learn something else. You know what I mean? Like people, like I would love to go learn Mandarin and then fluently speak it, and people would be like, wait, what? Because you don't look the part, and people just assume just because you're supposed to look a certain way, you have to speak a certain way. Because I get
and you
the
have
Spanish.
to fit my boxes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. My vision of what you are has to fit. You have to fit into the box that I have selected for you.
Yes, it's like it is the most frustrating thing on the planet because people want to know why I don't speak Spanish. I'm like, I mean, I took it in college, but like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. And it's okay. And they're like,
it offends people greatly that we don't
like,
do that. I don't put that much effort into someone else's life. Like I don't get offended by what people speak or don't speak.
Right? It's like, why are you so bothered by what I do?
Oh no.
Do and cannot do? Like why is that? I guarantee, and this is just popped in my head. I guarantee you the people who say that are also the same people that complain when the people who have migrated to our country speak in their native tongue and then they want them to speak English. I'm sorry, pick a side. Pick a side.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is true, but I feel like that
I'm sure it is.
That works.
I'll be with you on that one 100%.
Yes. I like her. We're keeping her.
Taylor, Delancey are like a lot the same person. It kills me. No, but I love it though. I love it. I really do. I love it. And I just love how much Taylor's vibing with both of us. It's just like my favorite.
It's fun. It's
super fun. I love it. I absolutely adore it.
So let me ask that, because you said you wanted to like search for your bio parents. I don't know if did you just mention that, or did you get that? Did you mention that? Did I assume something? Did I get cut off?
I think you assumed it, but I'm down. I'm here for this. I didn't even
No. So my parents offered to help me find my birth parents, but I've actually never pursued that avenue in life. But I think you have, right? I think you met your birth mom.
Yeah, I don't know my bio dad. I can't get a full circle on that. My birth mom's very cryptic about that. To put it very softly, I think she's a little bit of a hussy.
Okay.
Which is totally fine. No judgment. Like
judgment,
seriously,
no judgment.
It's
No
her
judgment.
life.
It's just a funny word.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because-
I think as the word hussy is hilarious.
We'll add that to our
Because-
fun list of words that we like.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's 7 of us and I'm smack dab in the middle, and we're pretty sure we all have different, somewhat, maybe some of us have the same dads, but like very clear, distinct, like you can see like some are related and some aren't. So it's very, very interesting though. And I love her, and we don't communicate tons because she speaks Spanish, so it's a little bit harder, but it has been, for me, it's been a good reunion with like her.
Good.
Like I tell everybody, my mother here is my mother. Like my bio mom is my bio mom,
I
but
love
my
that.
mom is my mom.
Facts.
Yes.
Just how it is. But
Someone
Delancey's
commented
met-
on one of my posts the other day and said, "Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead."
No, you're good. They comment on your post.
No.
What?
And they said, your birth mom is your actual mom, like despite what you think about your other mom or something. And it's like, thank you for sharing your opinion. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I have no interest in fighting with a stranger on the internet in my free time. Like, there's so many. I would rather clean my baseboards than sit there and fight with a stranger on the internet about these kinds of things.
That's
So
bad.
it's just like,
that's bad.
but I like to acknowledge people's things, right? Like, thank you for popping onto my page just to say your piece, or like, thank you for like coming here, you know. But yeah, it was like, it was kind of rude. I would never say that to somebody. It was like, your real mom is your birth mom. I hope you know that, or something. And so just those kinds of comments, I'm like, thanks, Instagram.
Yeah, you're
seriously.
nicer. You're nicer than I am, because I usually do respond with those, and I don't want to argue with people, and I don't want to go back and forth, because I'm never going to change their mind. They're always going to think the way that they want to think. And it's kind of like, I usually respond with, that's interesting that you have an opinion on my relationships, but my mom is my mom, and then my bio mom is my bio mom. My real mom is the one that raised me. End of story.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. End of story. Like, they're people suck.
People do suck. No, I love that. No, and I love that. And I actually kind of like that you haven't seeked out your bio parents, because I feel like a lot of people that we have, that sounds really weird. I didn't mean it like that. I hope you didn't take that wrong. Like, I feel like a lot of people
creeper.
No, like
so weird.
Like our age has like seeked out their bio parents, but I love it because some people are like totally content not doing it yet, and that's what I should say. I'm glad that, like, I don't know, because I feel like most people we meet have already found theirs,
right?
But
and of course, I
like
totally support anyone's decision to pursue and having that opportunity to do so, for sure.
No, and right back at you. We support anybody who's not
100%
and doesn't want to maybe do it yet, or has no desire to do it, because there
or
are
has no
some
desire
people
to do it.
No, and that's okay too. Like, that's their choice. That's not for me to be like, you really should learn about your culture, you really should learn about where you come from. Like, no, if they don't want to, that's fine. Like, I want that for myself. It's just like you said, I want for what I want for me, but why the hell worry about other people in their lives? Like, let them do. Just be like, that's awesome. I'm you know, whatever you do.
I found a lot of times in like middle school and high school, my friends or people who, you know, weren't my best friends, but people in my social circle kind of would say things like, well, if I were you, I would want to know my birth parents. And it's like, well, that's great for you. Yeah, cool story. I don't know what to say. And it's like, I just don't know that would add any satisfaction to my life. I don't know how that would enhance my life. So I posted a reel one time, and the voiceover was like, I want you to know that I don't care, or something. And so I made my caption be like, when an adoptee tells me I should find my birth parents. And then the voiceover was like, I don't care what you think, or something, because I felt like I get that a lot. And again, it's from non-adoptees and non-adopters. Like, they're not connected to the adoption triad at all, but they're like, well, you should want to find your birth mom. And I'm like, okay, well, you should want to go get me a snack then. Like, if we're playing this game of like what we want each other to
go
do.
get me food.
Right.
Well, and it's, I was just gonna say, it's interesting because like I would catch that, because I had zero desire, period. Zero desire, never wanted to. Like, it was like I think my parents and I actually had several arguments over this, because my parents were like, we think this would be good for you. And I'm super stubborn. And I'm like, it's not good for me. Leave me alone. Like, and they would try to have a conversation with me. And I wasn't there to even have the conversation. And it was just like, absolutely not. We're not doing this. Leave me alone. Like, that's all my answers were. Absolutely not. Leave me alone. Absolutely not. Leave me alone. And then it was finally like, because it was never a thing, because I got so sick and tired of people going, don't you want to know your real parents? And my response was always,
I do. I know my
I
real
do.
parents.
I know my real parents, and they're like, and they would literally go, "Oh my God, you've met your biological parents?" I'm like, "Oh, that's what you meant. You met my biological parents." No, I have not, but I do know my real parents. They're at home, or they're in, wherever they were living or I was living or whatever. And it
They're
was
the ones
always
that
so
cook me dinner
confusing.
at night.
Exactly. They're the ones that took care of me. They're the ones that raised me. They're the
Seriously.
ones they're the ones that taught me how to live life. And I don't mean to be so crass as to say what I'm about to say, because this is going to sound really terrible and I'm probably going to catch some hate for it, and that's fine. I don't care. Anybody can make a baby. It takes a true mom and dad, mother and father, mommy and daddy, whatever you want to call it, to raise that baby, to teach them how to live, to teach them to be who they are, functioning members of society, to have faith in God, to do all of these things that are going to make them positive influences on other people and in their own lives. So when people say, "Don't you want to meet your real parents?" Man, bro, I'm going to thump you in the nose. It's not nice. But I finally gave in and said, yes, I will but I will look, but under conditions. Social media. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
it's the most wild thing on the planet. Like, I never thought it would actually happen. Like, that was my out. That was my out.
Yeah.
I'm only going to do it through social media.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm going to type in the name, and if they're not there, that sucks.
Yeah.
That was my out. God had other plans. So I immensely respect the fact that you have decided and you have made your decision that this is what I want. Like, I do not want to do this. It doesn't affect anything. I love that. And I think that it's wonderful that she is able to share that. So other adoptees and other people who know adoptees will hear it and know it's okay.
Agreed.
like
and
that.
not be like put under the pressure of,
Exactly.
Everybody else is, so I should know.
Every
If you don't
adoptee
want
should
to,
be empowered and feel like whatever they want is what they
Hell
want,
yes.
right? No one should
Exactly.
feel pressuring
Yes.
to them. No one should feel like,
Exactly.
So power to every adoptee who decides what they want for their life and their identity and what makes them feel whole at the end of the day. My parents always supported that, and they always said that they would try to help me, find her, or that we could go to Korea and meet my foster mom and things like that. And they would always say we can be as involved as much as you want or as little as you want. And it just wasn't something that really appealed to me in that sense. And I just didn't know like what kind of, I felt so just satisfied with my family dynamic and things like that. I just didn't know what that could bring to the table that I didn't already feel, like was existing. And that's when I got a lot of adoptees will tell me that like I'm in the adoption fog and stuff, because I don't know that I want to meet my birth mom is what I hear a lot. So
you don't know that you really want to meet your birth mom. That's what they tell you.
Right.
Taylor, I'm so sorry. I hate to break this to you, but you may not know this. You want to meet your birth mom.
Right. Let me see your dog.
Oh, sorry. She was going at my pocket.
She's so cute, huh?
She is also adopted.
Keep it in the family,
so
right?
Cute.
Keep it in the family. But she was clawing at my leg, so I had to pick her up. And she's
cute.
nosy. She likes to participate.
No, I love it.
Sure.
Okay,
Everyone's
Taylor,
welcome.
I do have another question for you.
Yeah.
Did you know all growing up that you were adopted, or did your parents sit down and like tell you at a certain age? And I think I know the answer to this because I'm pretty sure I saw something on your stories or something that you did, but go ahead and share it with us.
Okay, sure. So I have always known that I was adopted, and my parents would tell me all the time that I was special and that I was adopted. And so my parents will tell you that I would be like at preschool, and like when you say like your name or something, my parents would say like I would walk around and be like, I'm Taylor and I'm adopted, and like I didn't even really know like what it meant. But my parents said they never wanted me to have this like bombshell moment where I was like, wait, I'm adopted, or get to the point where I start identifying physical features and realizing that they're a different race than me, or all their hair color is a different color than mine, or something, that we don't resemble each other, right? And so they have always told me that I was adopted, but made it feel very special. And it was never like you're weird and adopted. It was always like you're adopted, which is so special to us, kind of thing. And so I've always felt that it was special.
I love that. No, I love
love
that. That's
that.
something we ask because like for me, for instance, and I know like I've had people, they're like, we haven't even told our 8-year-old. And I'm just like, why? Like, why? It should just be something that is known. Like, I don't
Be
understand
transparent.
that. Yes, I don't understand that. So
And
I
that's
love
only
that.
don't
going to cause
understand.
resentment for people and
Right?
trust issues. And that's
That's what I'm
I mean,
saying.
again,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell
No.
a parent how to parent, but like to me, I feel like I wouldn't do that path.
No, because you
Mm-mm.
know, like the
Mm-mm.
like what do you call it? The dishonesty and the trust that goes into that. And then you find that out. And so then you're like, okay, well, what the hell else are you lying about to me then if I'm adopted?
Exactly. And if adoption isn't bad, why did you keep it a secret? I've heard about people who
Yes.
were like in need of like a kidney transplant, and then no one in their family is a match, and they didn't know that they were adopted until, so they're dealing with this like imminent health issue, right? Like needing a blood donor or a kidney donor,
Oh my
and then
hell.
realizing that no one in their family is a match DNA wise because they're not biologically related to their family members. And I mean, that I just can't imagine having a health issue
Crisis. Yeah.
coupled with, yes, I can't imagine. But again, I mean, I'm not here to tell any parent how to parent, but I would suggest being transparent and open with your adoptee. And I think it will make adoption special and be open, and it will build, a level of trust and rapport that wouldn't be there if the adoption were, kept kind of secret. I had a friend who was the same race as her adopted parents, and they would tell her she was adopted, but it was never like they would try not to make a big deal of it. And it was kind of like a hush hush secret. And I knew because my parents knew her family, but like no one at school knew, like people, it wasn't something she talked about openly. And it was never so she never had to feel those questions of like, well, do you know your real parents? Right. Because people assumed that she was biologically related to her parents because they were the same race. And so that was an interesting dynamic as well.
I mean,
I kind of
understand that because, like, if you see, like, me lined up with my older sisters, the second sister looks like she's the adopted one. It's hysterical because out of the four of us, two are biological, two are adopted. Three of us have dark hair, dark eyes, olive tone skin. The second one, blonde hair, blue eyes.
That's so funny.
That is funny. I love it.
It's hilarious. It is the funniest thing. And it's so funny when she and I tell people, because we both live in the same city, we tell people that we're sisters. They're like, oh yeah, we see that. We see that. Y'all look so much alike. And we're going, are you kidding?
Do you need glasses?
Do you often like to lie throughout
do you just, but like, and speaking of lying, this is something like, and it's interesting because like you brought it up and like, and I agree. And I'm pretty sure Melania agrees. Like we would never tell a parent how to parent. Like we would never do that. Like how you choose to raise your children is how you choose to raise your children. However, I just want to throw this out there for any parents that are listening or any people who are going to become parents later down the line, whatever. And you adopt and you choose to not tell the child they're adopted, you just a cute little secret. That's your choice. However, how can you, with a clean conscience, tell your child to be honest with you about everything, right? And you're not being honest with them?
Agreed. That's a great point. I love it.
Well, it's like the Friends episode. It's the Friends episode when they like like Chandler tells the kid and then he freaks out and the parents get pissed. It's like, well, maybe since day one, and then they like get all mad at Chandler. It's like, tell your parent, like tell your child. Like
it's like I don't understand that. I don't get it.
I don't
never
understand that either. No,
that just does not make sense.
Taylor, do you have siblings? Oh, sorry.
Yes, I do. So I have two older brothers who are also biological, or not also, who are biological to my parents. And so they actually do look alike. And so a lot of times people, we'll just make a comment to them, like when we're all together at a family function or something, like, oh, I see the resemblance, or they look so much alike or whatever. And so then of course someone in the family will always be like, well, yeah, and the three of them look so much alike, right? Because it's so funny to joke about. Or like if there's a genetic, thing in our family where everyone should be aware of a certain cancer gene or something, right? One of my cousins or someone will always look at me and be like, so Taylor, you should also get screened for that because obviously it runs in the family. And so it's just really fun. Like we're pretty lighthearted in my family and how we approach things like that. So yeah, I do have two older brothers and they have always treated me like their
their
biological
sister.
sister, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
their
I've never,
sister.
I don't know what
Sister.
it feels like to be adopted because they've never made me feel adopted.
I love
They've
that.
always loved me, and when we were younger, of course, bullied me to the point where like
Yeah,
I
Being
am
big
their
brothers.
sister.
Of
I
course.
have
Being
that,
big
I have those
brothers,
tears
yeah.
and the bruises to prove that they treated me like their flesh and blood. Okay.
Taylor's brothers were like equal opportunity in this house.
Right.
Period. You're my sister, and we're gonna beat you up. Call it a
Right.
day.
We're
So
gonna play
funny.
tag in a few minutes, and guess what? You're going down.
No. I
love
love it. I do too. Delancey, do you have any questions for her? I feel like I'm the only one asking all of them.
Oh, no, I asked a few. My favorite one was the troll. I asked
Your voice all going high.
I mean, so you said it's the two brothers and then you, the three of y'all. So
Mhm,
you're
mhm.
the baby of the family.
So yes, I'm the baby. I'm the only girl. So people would tell me how spoiled I was growing up. And
Girl, you were. Girl, you were.
guilty.
I was gonna say, I already know you were because
I was my
the-
grandma's only granddaughter. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
you were
can't,
Oh,
I can't,
yeah.
I can't do
Oh,
anything
yeah,
about
I
it. Like,
love that. I
I'm
love
just
that.
dealing with the cards I was dealt in life, right? So
It's like that's like the epitome of don't hate the player, hate the game.
Oh,
Like
Exactly.
I didn't
I love
choose to be
it.
the baby of the family.
The
It is
baby
what it
life
is.
chose me. So
Yeah, the baby life chose me. Oh, that needs to be a shirt.
let's do it.
I didn't choose to be the baby.
I love
Oh, okay,
that.
so I'm the baby of my family, and Melanie,
Okay.
you're the oldest, right?
No, I'm
No,
a baby.
You're the baby.
You always
I
think I'm the
I
oldest.
always think you're the oldest. Always.
Yeah, no,
It's
I'm the
'cause-
baby.
It's because you're so mature.
Yeah, it's because you have more of a maturity to you.
Yeah,
than we,
you have like
than we
a.
have.
She really does. Like we're the epitome of being
Whatever.
the baby, and like Melena's over here going.
You do
"God,
have a
you need to stay
maturity
on
sense
top of
to
it."
you compared to us.
But I honestly was kind of raised like an only child because there's 7 years
Mm-hmm.
between me and the next. And the four oldest are their biological. Does that make sense? And then there's
Yeah.
me. So
Mhm,
I
mhm.
came a lot later in life. And so my siblings were a lot older, which wasn't a bad thing, but like I didn't do all the little family things that they did like when you're little. Kind of like how Taylor was talking about with like her brothers. I didn't have that. I was kind of like an only child, but I feel like I don't act like an only child because I had those siblings. So I'm not like, ew,
Mhm.
everything's me, everything him. Like, I mean, granted, I'm not gonna lie, I'm like Taylor and I was spoiled. And then again,
Oh.
like I did take advantage that I was the only brown person in
Oh.
my family and extended family. And so
I love
I've,
it.
like,
I love it.
made myself the favorite even to this day. You ask my aunts and uncles and my cousins, I always tell people that I'm like, I'm the favorite brown cousin because it just is what it is because all the rest of them
It is what
white
it
folk.
is. It is what it is. I mean, and
I love
that's true. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
true though, because like you identified that. I identified as my mom, the way my mom explained to me that I was adopted is I was the pick of the litter. I stand by that. I'm still the pick of the litter. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
you
I'm the
are.
favorite.
You are.
We don't have to, like, I even told my mom,
I'm
we
the
don't have to
favorite.
talk about the fact that I'm the favorite. We all know. But
Some
it's-
things we
I-
just know.
yeah,
We don't
some
have
things
to
we just
verbalize. Yeah.
know. Exactly. But
I love it.
I'm with Melena though, because I didn't grow up playing tag with
Yeah.
my sisters and stuff like that. Cause with my three older sisters, because there's 10, 13, and 15 years difference between me and my three older sisters. So
Oh,
there's,
okay.
I always tell her, I've started telling some of their children, you're welcome, because I was their dry run on how to raise kids. They got all of their bad habits out with me.
Welcome.
Like, you're welcome, because, whereas you were chased with tag, my sisters thought it was funny to help me learn how to read by writing out cuss words and having me sound it out.
Oh my gosh, I love your sisters. Oh my gosh, I love
Dude,
them.
That's hilarious.
My sisters are hilarious. They're absolutely amazing. They're wonderful people. I'm so thankful for them. But some of the stuff that they had me do as a child that I was not aware of, like, I'm sorry, when you're 4 years old, you should not be singing the soundtrack to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's probably not something you should be doing.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And here we are. So I
That's
didn't
too
get
funny.
the physical chasing, but
Okay.
I mean,
Mhm.
I have a feeling like all of us in our way were treated like the babies of the family as we should have been. So that's the
Love
reason why I
it.
think
Anytime there's an older sibling and they gotta push the limits with the younger sibling, right? Making them cuss, right now bad things. They gotta push the envelope somehow. And I feel like the best way for them to do that is to make the younger sibling do that. So
Exactly. Well, and was there ever a moment, and this is a question for both y'all, was there ever a moment where your siblings were like, oh crap, mom's gonna kill us? We broke, we broke Delancey was like the thing that they said was, oh crap, mom's gonna kill us. We broke Delancey. Like, go, stop crying, stop crying, stop crying. Like, mom's gonna kill us. Did y'all ever have that? Y'all never had your older siblings? Okay, you
For
did.
me, no. No,
Like,
and
no.
I tease my siblings because like my brothers like never like they picked on my sister that's right above me because she was the baby forever, and they picked and like teased on her, not hardcore. My brothers didn't like tease, like even to this day, like I was making fun of my older brother, like my oldest brother, because I'm like, it's so weird because I see my husband get together with his brother and they're total brothers. They bang on like they wail on each other's to this day. They try. I'm always like, you're welcome, babe.
like
but
adult men, like
that, like nut shots, like always trying to hit each, like those kinds of things. He's gonna listen and be like, really? But no, like, but those
Really, you're
things,
sure they're family secrets?
and they pick on each other.
no one
and
else knew about that.
But my brothers never did it. So I was like, when I married into the family, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is totally different. And so I was teasing my oldest brother, and he's like, me and my friends were like, granted, my brother is brilliant and smart, and he is very well off now where he is, like, you know what I mean? He got his master's, he's very smart, but he's like, we were like studying and stuff. So he's one of those. Yeah.
Dumb then, or he was too busy having his nose in a book. He either did something really stupid or he was building his life. One of the
busy in a book. And then there was my husband who was stealing pumpkins off of people's porches and throwing them at mailboxes. So completely different, which is so funny. So anyway, sorry, go back to
I'm just envisioning that.
He's like, you guys can't do it now because like we have a video doorbell. He's like, there's no way our sons could now. Are you kidding me? Trying to go take a pumpkin and people see your face
you
right there on the doorstep.
Could you imagine? It would end up on TikTok.
Right. Oh yeah,
Totally.
We're like the last generation that could do stupid stuff without it being on social media
It's
or
so
camera
true.
footage.
So
Kids
true.
these days have no idea how many cameras are like pointed at them when they do something
Dude.
dumb.
Everywhere.
Dude, it's
everywhere.
like that trend that's going around right now where it's like I don't know if y'all saw it on TikTok where it's like I'm a teenage dirtbag and all these pictures and I'm going, I wasn't the stupid one that took pictures like that.
Right.
Like
right.
And if I did, they got ripped up. And
Exactly.
burned.
Get better
we don't
friends.
acknowledge that.
Don't have friends that will do you dirty like that.
Right? Thank you.
So funny. I love it. Anyway, we took off on a little bit of a tangent, but y'all know that we do that.
Squirrel. Tangents, squirrel moments.
No, I love it.
Of course.
No, seriously. But I'm trying to think if there's Taylor, what's any advice you would give to like anybody? Like I love it because I feel like you can cover adoptees and adoptive parents as far as giving advice goes. What advice would you give? Maybe let's do adoptive parents because I know that's one of the main reasons that you started your account, because you wanted them to see the light and the good. So what's advice that you would give to somebody who is seeking to adopt?
Sure. I think for people who are looking and seeking to adopt, to never feel complacent in your knowledge about adoption or family dynamics, right? Always be challenging yourself to learn, whether that's through books written by researchers, whether that's blogs about family dynamics, and just always knowing that there's always something else to learn. There's always someone else's story to hear, doing any kind of like trainings that you can access through your job or through, your church, anything that's being offered, like take advantage of all those resources that are offered within your like sphere of influence so that you can be the best educated person that you can be. And when we know that we don't know a whole lot, I think it makes us more receptive to learning. When we feel like we know already, like, oh, I already know that, or I've already heard someone talk about that, I think we can get really like stagnant in our knowledge. And that's not a place that I would recommend us to be in. And so when we feel like we want to learn more so that we can be better parents or better people, be more informed for the adoptee, because at the end of the day, the adoptee should be the number one priority and their happiness, right? And then also supporting the adoptee. So if that means supporting them on their birth parent search, doing what that means to support them, supporting them on their identity, supporting them if they don't want to learn their native language, making them feel comfortable that that's a choice that they have made and they don't have to explain themselves to people, and allowing them to feel empowered to say, yeah, I don't know my native language. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And,
Exactly.
and building them, giving them those tools to feel confident when they, unfortunately have to anticipate certain like unsolicited comments from their friends at school or growing up and just going into high school or something like that. Let's see what else. But yeah, I think just remembering that the adoptee is their own individual person, and just supporting them in the way that they would want to be supported in any situation,
I love that you said like to learn, because I feel like that's a
Mhm.
generalization that you should do anyway, whether it's adoption or not. Like there's so many things I've come across lately is like, if you want to blossom and make something of your life, always be learning. It doesn't have to be adoption, always be learning. Because it's what's the harm in that? And I think that's even, and I do love that you guys were talking earlier about like the people who have the most to say are people that have no, what do you call it? Connection with adoption. Or they don't, they haven't been in it. Because like me, I don't know if you know this very much, Taylor. I know Delance knows it because I shared it with her, but like I have lots of opportunities to go get down to Colombia. My husband travels there quite a bit for work to go visit my biological family. But if I'm being real, it honestly scares me shitless. It gives me crazy anxiety. As you saw, I just took like a huge breath before, because my it like right now I can feel it everywhere. But I've had a couple people, I should tell you guys. So I've had people just tell me, just do it. You're going to regret it. Granted, all these people are not adopted. And I'm like, it's easier said than done. That's what I tell them. It's easier said than done. You don't understand it. You guys don't understand. I'm going to a family of 8 people down there. 7. My biological mom and 6 siblings. So they don't understand it. But I did have an adoptive mama, because like I expressed it the other day, and she said something that nobody said to me, or that I didn't even think of. And she's like, why don't you and Ben just go to Colombia, go visit the culture, come back home? I'm like, I didn't even think of that. Like, that's genius. And I was like, I wish I lived by you because I'd come give you a hug. And she's like, I'm only saying this because she has like young adult adoptees. And she's like, I'm thinking of my own children. And if they express that to me, because she has babies from Haiti, she was like, I would just be like, let's go down and see your culture. We don't have to do anything. And I'm just like, the people in the adoption community get it. The people who aren't in it don't. And if anybody's listening to this, that one of you said for me to just go jump ship, I'm not coming at you. I'll tell you again, like I told you to your face, it's easier said than done when you're not in the situation. And so I love that. Okay, sorry.
That's like, that's the most genius thing that somebody,
that's a great advice.
It's very great advice, because that takes the pressure off. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is what you would potentially be walking into is it's a high pressure situation. I was walking into one with just 1 and 3 siblings, and that was a high pressure situation. Like I was shaking the whole time.
Have you seen Delancey's video? Once you go to her page, you'll have to see it. You can see Delancey's whole body language, like just kind of, she's like holy shit. Yeah.
Like I don't know how many people know this outside of my family. I don't even think I've ever told Melina this, but like it was such a high pressure situation. I had so much anxiety about it, and I was so nervous, and I was just so, I could not catch a breath. And I like started getting hives. Like I could not, like I was getting flushed. I was getting like, it was getting crazy. It was getting out of control. And so when I hear Melina say that people go, just go do it. It's like, you don't understand how much pressure that is, because even though like Melina, you've talked to her several times. I had talked to mine through text. You still don't know how it's going to go.
Correct. Yeah,
and when there are other lives involved outside of just you and the bio mom, there's siblings involved as well. It's a lot. It's so much. And so that just, it's not coming at anybody. It's just kind of like have an appreciation for the pressure that's there that can cause
when I got her message, I literally was in tears because it was so much weight lifted off. Like I've never thought. And I told her that I'm like, I'm sitting here crying right now, texting you back, because like nobody's ever mentioned it that way.
Right.
And I'm not, I guess what I'm trying to round it back is like, it's easier said than done. You can't put yourself in anybody's situation, especially when it comes to adoption. And I'm sorry, if you are not adopted, it goes with anything like infertility or having parents who are divorced or something like that. Shut your damn mouth. I know you're trying to
Just
be nice
listen.
and share some
Right.
good, exactly. Just
Mhm.
listen.
Just
because
listen. Just listen.
I don't come and tell you how you had to mind your business. Like, you know, we went on that on an episode a while ago. It's like, don't tell me how I'm supposed to feel or what I'm supposed to do. Cause we were talking about,
Exactly.
I don't know if this with you, Taylor, like we're both very grateful that we're adopted,
Mhm.
but it really drives me nuts when people who aren't are like, oh my gosh, you should be so grateful that you're adopted. You should feel this way. And I know it's not malicious, but I'm just like, don't tell me how I feel.
People
As you
love to
just
tell
wanna,
other people
like-
how they should feel or
Yes.
act. Yes.
Yes.
And I just don't put that much energy into other
Yes.
people's
Oh.
lives. Like I can't control other people. So I would never like tell someone how to feel about a situation. But
Mm-mm.
like I don't know where that like entitlement comes from, but it definitely exists to people feeling like
I blame
they
social
should
media.
be able to tell you. Yes.
I blame social media because everybody has an opinion on everything. And like you said, it's like, I would never have the audacity to walk up to somebody I didn't know or comment on somebody's video or even send them a message, a private message. I would never have that audacity to be like, oh my God, you should feel this particular way because I think you should. And da, 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 da. And like, it's just
Because
like,
that's how I
could you
feel.
there? Like, cause
Yeah.
I feel like if I was you, and it's like, but you're not me.
Exactly.
You're not Milena. You're not Taylor. Like, you don't know our inner feelings, and feelings are okay. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. It's valid. It's all right. It's fine. Now, if it's a negative feeling, you don't want to live there. That's my only recommendation. Just don't
We
live there.
always say that.
Feel
Yep.
it. Yeah. Feel it, embrace it, hug it, then send it on its way.
Because if
You
not, your life's
don't-
shitty.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah,
You have a
exactly.
shitty-
And then
you
you
have a shitty
become-
life.
You become a keyboard warrior and
Yeah.
you start hurting other people because you're hurt and you're upset, and it just,
Nobody wants to be around you. Plain and simple.
Nobody wants to be-
straight up. I
yeah.
don't want to be your friend if you're negative.
Exactly.
That's why I like Taylor so much is because
Yeah.
she's just
Don't
like
bring
us.
those
Like,
negative vibes
dude.
around us.
Yeah. Seriously.
don't bring the negative vibes. Taylor, I love that you, just circling back to this real quick, I love that you kept saying empowered, and you mentioned it earlier, this word, and I really hope that if somebody doesn't know what it means, that they go look it up because it's such a powerful word. Autonomy. Empowered and autonomy. I love that you mentioned those words, and I really hope
Yes.
people will take that to heart because I really feel like that's such a great way to put it. And Milena and I have both said pretty much the same thing, but we've never used those words. I don't think.
Big words. Big words.
They're big words. They're SAT words. Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you a doctor?
I do have a doctorate. Yes.
Yes, that's what I say. She has
that's
it on
why
her
she
social
used
media
the
that way.
big words. Yeah, that's what I checked just a second ago to see if I was following her, and I am. So I'm very happy about that because I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm following her, but I'm gonna double check.
I gotta check and make sure I'm following you.
I made her go follow you when I found you, Taylor. I'm not even kidding.
She
I'm
did.
like, Delancey,
She
you have to go
did.
follow her. She's just like us.
She
So,
did.
yeah.
Immediately sent it
Thank
to
you,
me, and
thank you.
I stopped what I was doing and I looked you up and I was like, oh yeah, follow, done. But that explains why you use big words. And I love it. for the
Listen, if you
record.
ever want a cheat sheet for like big words, okay? So you type in like the word you want or like the word you're thinking of, right? And then you type in, you add synonym, and then you Google it.
Yes.
It
it.
reminds me of like Joey on Friends. Remember when he gets the thesaurus? I can't even say that word. Remember when he does that and then he like
Yes.
yes.
And it's so
That's
funny
what it
because
reminds me
like, it's so funny because my parents, I swear, if my mom is listening to this, she's gonna be like, Delancey, we gave you a private school education. We put you in college. It's like, I know, but I work with the general public and I like was raised in the South. What do you expect? Like, sometimes I don't remember to use big words. Sometimes I have to use little words.
No, I love it. I love it.
So I do love though that you use empowered and autonomy because I feel like as adoptees, it is our responsibility to find our autonomy, to be empowered, to live our life the way that we need to live it in order for it to function properly and to be positive at the end of the day.
Sure.
So
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. I love that.
Pretty much, Taylor, you're just a badass and I love it. And she knows her
That's
shit
awesome.
and she knows her work. So like you guys try and come at her, she'll just come right back, which is probably my favorite. Like seriously. But she's very respectful about it. I love people that are like
Yeah.
that. They're not they're not, they don't get down to their level. Taylor's just like, and here's some sugar on this. Like, I'm going to sprinkle you with an insult. Like, it's my favorite. 'Cause she really is.
Here's some sugar with some big words so that you have to go, huh?
What did you just say? Exactly. No, I love it. Taylor, anything else you want to share with us?
Sure, I can end with this part. So I think that when I do a lot of research, scholarly research on adoption, things like that, and I find a lot of case studies or a lot of studies that link adoption to trauma or depressive feelings and things like that. I always like to point out that the counselors, and so not to discredit any mental health professional or medical provider, but the counselors that are doing these studies are only working with clients who have talked openly about having these issues, right? So a person going to a therapist, talking about their issues as an adoptee, counselors are not seeing adoptees who are well-adjusted. They're not seeing, I never went to my school counselor and said, right, like, oh, I don't have any issues. I just wanted to like come in and let you know that like I'm doing great without you, right? So counselors can only speak to the clientele that they have been helping and those people who are seeking, actively seeking help. And so when they write these case studies, when they write these journal articles citing adoption issues and behavioral issues and feelings of, not feeling whole and complete, it's because that's the clientele that they're seeing. And again, not to discredit any professional out there who's doing these studies, but I just want to talk about that sample size that they are seeing are people who have identified as someone who feels, incomplete or doesn't feel whole and things. And so there aren't necessarily counselors who are seeing patients who are saying like, I'm a well-adjusted adoptee. I love my adoptive family. I'm doing great in life. I'm killing it. And I want you to do a case study on me. And so there isn't that research. And so we then, unfortunately, we don't find that research out there for people to cite in literature reviews and articles to say, oh, there are a certain amount of adoptees in the world who feel confident in themselves and feel that their identity is whole.
No, I love that. Like, I really do love that because you nailed it on the head. And I think that will ease a lot of people's hearts as it's like, unfortunately, the ones who aren't having crazy struggles or issues they don't see it necessary to come forward. I get that. I totally get that.
Well, and I think that's probably the reason why it's most important for people like Taylor, people like you, Melanie, people like myself to find their own platform.
Yeah. And I'm glad, Taylor, you didn't shut your social down. Yeah. I'm so glad you didn't.
Because so glad
she really
shut it down.
Yeah. She really's got a lot of good stuff to say. Yeah. No, agreed. Agreed.
Thank you.
Just come vent to us because we know about the haters. That's what me and Delancey do. We're like, girl, look what this bitch just said.
All the time. All the time. It's absolutely ridiculous. The things people will say. It's kind of like I'm not gonna say that.
I just love you. Okay, well, on that note, we will let Delancey what she has to say. But seriously, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on and spending an hour of your night, maybe a little over. No, a little bit over with us. We so appreciate it. I'm excited to still get to know you and to move on and to it's going to be awesome. We're going to still do more stuff with her. We're not going to let her go. She's going to,
she's stuck with us. Like, I'm sorry, you tripped over your word. God,
I'm so honored to be a part of this and future things moving forward. And I feel like I'm part of your guys' family. So thank you for,
yes, you are.
Thank you for inviting me into your heart.
You are stuck with us.
You're stuck with us, which I'm excited. I'm excited. So you will see Taylor's face again, which I'm excited. But Taylor, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.